Thank you. Mr. Jorgens, I'm going to direct my questions to you here. Just when we talk about the right to apply for need-to-know status and have a security clearance, the Chief of Staff to the Minister of Public Safety would be deemed to have the right to apply and they have a security clearance, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to give a bit of a list here.
Sure.
So at the Ontario desk, the minister's staff that works at the Ontario desk for the Minister of Transport, they would be deemed to have the right to apply for need to know, correct?
No.
Any ministerial staffer that applies, there's a rule here. All individuals who work in or for the office of any minister, including exempt staff, other employees, contractors, students, persons on loan, assignment or secondment, regardless of their work location, require a level 2 secret security clearance prior to appointment.
I'm sorry, that is a mistake on my half. That is true.
Okay.
You need a secret.
So next, the driver that's employed in the Minister of Health's office requires that they have a need to know and the right to apply, correct?
A security clearance does more than just give you the right to know, or it doesn't give you a right to know.
Gives you the right to apply because they need to know. They're deemed, they must have it in order to be employed.
Yes, sir. We need to make sure, though, that person who is employed in that position can be trustworthy with the information that they
I'm not disagreeing with that. The intern that participates in the Liberal Party's internship program for 2.5 months in the summer in the Minister of Democratic Institutions office requires a security clearance to work in that office, correct?
I'll take your word for that.
That is, they have to. I read that. They do have to. So my point is that you come here today and you say that there's some resource and capacity issues, that you've issued 250,000 security clearances in the last decade, and that 338 MPs might apply is a bit of a challenge. I find that a bit difficult. When I'm looking here as a member of Parliament, Mr. Jorgensen, I'll ask you just as a high level again. In the budget in the office that you work in, who approves and votes on your budget each year?
You do, sir.
Yeah. And so the intern at the Liberal Party of Canada's summer internship program is automatically deemed the right to apply because they need to know or might need to know at some point in the course of their work. And we're having this pushback here today that a member of Parliament to have the right to apply for that same status is suddenly an issue for some reason. I go back of where when we talk about capacity and we talk about a challenge, I'm saying that there's a frustrating point when it's required to have this and capacity is used and questions are used of a pushback. The point being is that members of Parliament should have the same right to apply. What comes afterwards in many conversations today of where it's frustrating is we have this challenge. So maybe my question, you won't be able to provide this in writing, but I just want to give the context and hammer it home. If you could provide in writing to us, how many intern applications have been applied for and approved, say, since 2021? My point being is when there's 338 MPs that might apply and be given the right to apply, I go back at the end of the day that it is very reasonable to be able to do that. And as members of Parliament who vote on the budgets that you work under, that vote on legislation that you enact and enforce, I don't think it's unreasonable or there shouldn't be any challenge that this cannot be met. So I think that's one of the things, if we could have that provided in writing about the number just to provide us a context, I think hopefully what I've been able to outline is we can get to yes on this. This is reasonable. It's very fair for members of Parliament to have the right to apply. And considering who is already deemed have the right to reply on the need to know status, Mr. Ruff's bill on that is, I think, wholly appropriate and doable. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Well, Mr. Chair, if I may, I apologize if I've left any misunderstanding. I did not say at any point that my team could not do this. We absolutely can do this. It will take some time, but that's true across the government. So I want to leave the fact that I have not said we have an issue with responding to this type of demand.
And I would go back and saying is not so much that of capacity being a challenge. Other ones have been raised about the volume. My point being is there's an opportunity and there's a way to get to yes on this. The volume of what's being asked here, and again, I think a lot of the conversation over the course of the couple of meetings has been the other stage about having access to it, but the right to apply. and the capacity to do this is very reasonable. So to suggest you've outlined could be something, but other questions that have been raised about this in the last few days. So I leave it at that and just provide that context again, that if a Liberal Party intern, as an example, has the right to apply and need to know status because they work in the minister's office, make the argument Mr. Ruff's bill is very reasonable, that members of Parliament should have the very same right to apply, and senators.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duncan.